hello, and welcome to another episode of the Scions of the Southland recap show. Uh, as always, my name is Akshay Schwarn, and joining me is a man who apparently, from what we were talking about off air, does not like Cleveland. Mr. Jake Grant, care to explain?
Um, well, I think that one's a little bit self-explanatory if we know my baseball predilections, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm still stuck in LeBron was annoying to me as a child, playing the Bulls a lot, and it's just not a very nice place if you're from there and listening to this. Just sub in Detroit for all of those things. And if you're from Detroit, you didn't hear that last sentence. So there you go.
Womp womp. Hey, I mean, you enjoyed your time in Detroit a couple years ago.
When we got crushed in a bowl game, that was fun.
I mean, gambling is fun.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I thought this was supposed to be the relentless positivity episode of this podcast.
We'll get there. You'll have your fun for that.
You promise?
Uh, pinky promise here.
All
So
right.
yeah, so like Jake sort of alluded to, we will talk about Georgia Tech football's 56-33 victory over Duke from last night as we're recording this on Sunday night. We'll talk about the wide world of non-rev sports, including newest member of the non-rev sports category, men's basketball, who has been dropped to said category because, actually, we'll save that one. We'll get there. And then we'll also talk about next week's supposed football game versus NC State. However, we are still looking at a kickoff time for that one, I believe. So, Mr. Grant, let me get my trusty little handy dandy timer out here. 35 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
Let's zoom. Let's go.
All right, three, two, one, here we go. Women's basketball now 1-1 after games versus Georgia State and Athens Community College. I watched most of the Georgia State game and bits and pieces of the Athens game earlier today. I think the state win was pretty good, but after a thrashing Athens, I think it was in Athens last year.
Yep.
This game was disappointing. This game today was disappointing, I would say.
Yeah, I went in with pretty high expectations after last year. I didn't get to watch any of the Georgia State game, but I did watch all of the Athens game, and they have a big man, well, big woman, who just backdoor all day.
I think it's
I don't know.
Jenny Steide. I don't know. I'm
Stides,
sorry. I'm probably
Stides,
mispronouncing that.
it's like it's a
It's
five-letter name that
Italian?
starts with an S. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Um,
The broadcast was pretty high on her, and looking at the box score, as we were preparing, she did lead all players with a bunch of points. I think at one point, right before OT, it was 21 points, and I'm sure um, that total was increased in OT. But I think the general consensus here is it was a not so fun outing.
yeah. I don't know. Like we said, expectations. I want to know where Kira Fletcher is. Quite frankly, that is puzzling to me. And Nell was definitely playing with a bigger rotation than I think we're used to seeing from men's or women's basketball. So it was interesting just to see. They only had, I think, 8 players dressed today. You're playing with pretty tight rotations with somewhat of foul trouble, but not really. I I don't know. Hermosa can ball. Kubai can ball. We knew that. Loda Mylotnin can ball. Those were all great to see. Loyal McQueen uh, definitely can play. Probably a couple times tried to do a little too much, but she's young. It's her second game, first Power Five game. There's good takeaways here. I don't want us to be like, gosh, like wow, they could have made more free throws because first thing they did when they came out of the locker room was shoot free throws. That is a good thing. Like,
Oh,
they're
I have more on this in another basketball related sport later on.
basketball related non-rev sport. Yeah, no, they did the exact same thing they do to Georgia State every year, and they played a very similar game to the game they usually play against Georgia. Um, but no, not to sound down. These gals are talented. They'll figure something out. My only like what's going on, I guess, not instead of just like, all right, tighten it up, is I'd like to know where Kara Fletcher is because they still use
I
her on
can
promos. People
actually
have mentioned her. Like where is
I
she
can I
injured or what?
can answer that question for you. I think she is injured because at one point the broadcast did show her in sweats on the bench or whatever we're calling this loose amalgamation of players in a corner this season. So she's around. She just didn't dress for this game. I assume it's an injury or a fitness concern. Um, I know we've seen a lot of other teams around the country be uh, secretive about or more secretive nowadays about their injuries and their which players are 100%. So it might be something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I knew she was still around. Like between seeing her in sweats, promo materials, and I I'm a bad person. I should remember this. But Fortner definitely did mention it during her preseason press conference. I just cannot, for the life of me, remember what that is. So, oops. But I don't know. It felt like last year these two teams were kind of on diverging paths, um, and now it feels like they've verged back together.
Crabs in a bucket, kind of, maybe. Not as bad as the
Eh,
Egg Bowl.
yeah, I
You've
mean,
never
the Egg Bowl is the Egg Bowl. I don't think anything in women's basketball, no offense to women's basketball, really matches the unique pleasures of the Mississippi Ole Miss or Mississippi State Ole Miss um, football game each year. So
I mean, pleasures is one way to put it. Anyway, back on topic. Next up, swim had a dual meet versus Florida State and Georgia. I don't think we talked about this when we were last on the air 2 weeks ago, but do you want to give us the rundown here?
yeah, and we definitely didn't talk about it last time we were on the air because it hadn't happened yet.
See,
And to
I knew that we
nitpick
hadn't
you
talked
further,
about it.
it was an invitational, which I think is an interesting place to start because if you're familiar with the NCAA swimming rule book, like very few people actually are, but I actually bothered to kind of dig into kind of like the scoring
Nerd.
stuff this year because I'm, project we're working on. Anyways, in most swimming competition, basically everywhere but the NCAA, relays count for double that of individual events. And that is true in the NCAA for invitationals, for tri meets, quad meets, dual meets, that kind of thing. It is not true. So that is an important distinction to make when we're talking about Athens and the invite that they had up there 2 weeks ago, because relays are scoring double. Everybody's getting second swims, and that's how you wind up with some good stories too, right? We have our both teams got third out of three teams. The Florida State Georgia Tech gap was close. The UGA Georgia Tech gap was not. But that's what happens when you have one of the best programs in the country. Uh, what
Grumbles,
80 miles up the road? Yeah.
just
Um, I don't want
continue
to have to
because
talk about.
before I start grumbling.
I was going to say I don't want to have to talk about how amazing UGA is at swimming
Just,
because
high
that
executive summary. Executive
that
summary.
is
Let's power through it.
that is a uh, personal aneurysm causing fact in my life. But no, they swam really well, I would say. We have our first individual A cut, which means automatic consideration for the national championship, and it came on the women's side. Um, the men got two relays to that mark, and then a boatload of B cuts. If you want to hear more about that, check out last week's Yellow Jacket Roundup. There's literally too many for me to to say,
He wrote
but
a lot of stuff.
basically,
There was a lot of
ba-
meat on that.
exactly. Basically, the men need somebody to get an A cut, and then all the dominoes will fall. Their relays will qualify. In fact, all of their relays will qualify. Um, Associated other swims, because of being associated with relays, will be able to happen. But we just need the one. But in the past, we have had our two seniors, star seniors on the guys' side, Christian Ferraro and Kyle Pampudis, both get A cuts in one or multiple events. So I'm not too concerned about that. It just hasn't happened yet. You can tack on the team's 5 records there too. I believe one came in diving, one was on the women's side, and then the 2 men's A cut relays, as mentioned, and a 200 freestyle relay as well. So, like I said, very solid weekend. A couple of the lineup gaps were pretty noticeable, but that's what happens in COVID and sign of the times kind of thing. We don't need to write too much into the third versus second versus first. I think what matters more is the parts of Georgia Tech's lineups that we need to be functioning well come the spring are looking pretty good. Hopefully that translates into an ACC meet. We're not really sure when that'll be. NCAA's is up in the air because Iowa cut their swim program right after they put a bunch of renovations into the pool and were set to host the national championship. Bad look. I tweeted this yesterday, but Boston College has one ACC title despite having 26 sports in 15 years of competition across all of them. In the ACC, they have one title to show for it. That's awkward, as is Iowa potentially hosting a national championship in a sport that they cut this year.
It's fine because now they've found the money to pay Kirk Ferentz' buyout.
There you go. But that's a different
Ugh,
segment of the podcast. But
mate.
no, that the point is, and I think it's worth saying about women's basketball too, is like they're gonna figure it out. I can Loda Mailottinen is not gonna only score 6 points in a game every game. She can't. Like that's just not how the season is going to go. They're gonna figure out the rotation. Fletcher, depending on what it is that's up with her, she'll come back. She's our point guard, right? She's been an important part of the team for a long time. Swimming, Pampudis is going to get that A cut whenever it comes. Hopefully, I think the biggest telling part is we have all these pieces on the guys' side and several on the women's side too. Is getting them all healthy and into a lineup. I think we will finally kind of be able to turn the corner that, especially on the guys' side, we've really been in the ballpark of for a long time now. So,
And to be clear, because you're talking about multiple sports at the same time, you're talking about men's swimming there,
yeah,
right?
but also the women too, I would say.
Okay, okay. Just
But
because we mixed in some basketball there, so I just wanted to
oh,
make sure
and
we had everything straight.
no, because I do want that parallel to be in there is women's basketball, right? We haven't been in the tournament in almost 6 years now, and it seems like every year is going to be that year that they turn the corner. And just losing one game to UGA, a good team, a historically pretty good team, isn't the nail in the coffin, right? Getting third at a relative, not meaningless, but it we'll see what happens in ACC play for the ladies hoops, and we'll see what happens at the ACC championships for men and women swimming. Is kind of the point I'm gonna say to
You can't
hold
see
off
this,
judgment
but
until
I'm
then.
nodding along positively because podcasting is a visual medium.
And this is the relentless positivity episode. We're saying nice things about women swimming. We're saying encouraging things after a tough overtime loss to UGA. But
Oh, just wait. I have the other foot coming
oh,
soon. We'll get
oh,
there.
and I would like to get in one dig that swimming may not be a major sport, but going up against UGA in the water is a pretty major deal. So if certain other, uh, tech coverage type folks don't want to cover it
Oh,
and then
don't
call
be
everybody out about
petty.
that, mm,
Don't be
mm,
petty. It's fine. we're not gonna dwell on that one. We're gonna move on. Um, all right. Other updates from around the flats. Softball wrapped up spring or the fall practice while we were out. And baseball is working on putting down some brick on their new complex. Have you had a chance to go up there recently and check it out?
As a matter of fact, I have, and it looks beautiful. It's a little smaller than I thought it was going to be, but I I actually did the math too. We're only
Of
about
course you did.
we're only about 2 months out from the run up to the season. Granted, it's like 2.5 months, but it's going to be done by the time that the season starts. That thing is going to have its windows and brick and all that. Looks very sharp. So
Hey, they'll
definitely
get
excited to
that
get in
done,
there.
but they won't finish the student center on time.
Dude, the student center's not supposed to be done for another year and a half. Enjoy the
Yeah, but I'm gonna
Chick-fil-A food
but
truck, kids.
yeah, but I'm standing by my point because I've never seen a construction project at Georgia Tech end on time.
That is true. Um,
It's
yeah,
always a
no.
risk.
Georgia Tech, I guess West Village finished on time, but that's already cracking. So, oof.
There's a lot of other problems with West Village that, maybe it needed some more time to bake there. We can
Um,
we can dice that up another time.
yeah, that's a different segment of the podcast.
Let's keep moving. The newest entry to our non-revenue sports category is men's college basketball, who is now 0-2 after dramatic losses to Georgia State and Mercer. Do you want to start? Do you want to do the positive bits so I can be the bad cop here?
Um, yeah, sure, I can do that. I really, really, really like watching Moses Wright play this year. Um, Dude knocked down, I think he's got three threes in his first two games. That is an aspect of his game that he never had, but he's really grown into the four role. The only problem with that is we don't have a five. So we have fantastic development there. And I think Jordan Maka, watching him a little bit, I really liked flashes of his play. Um, Trying to tie all this together. I don't know. I just need to see more from the guards. Oh, and Bubba Parham. Really, really liked him out on the court. In person, he passed the eye test against Mercer, I think. And then watching in general against Georgia State.
Okay, you good? You get all your positives in?
Yeah, those are my positives. Now tear him to
Okay.
shreds.
All right, bad cop time. I didn't like either of these games. And it was incredibly frustrating. It was honestly, and I will be 100% like well, blunt here. It was incredibly frustrating to watch both of them, especially the Georgia State game, which went to four overtime because it just wouldn't end. And you could kind of see the same mistakes happening over and over again. Um, I think you can kind of hand wave away the loss to Georgia State because I think we touched on this in the writers' room. Georgia State is a consistent tournament team. They consistently place in the top couple of places in the Sun Belt. They are a good basketball team, but they're still a mid major, and Tech should not be should not be in the position where they lose to mid majors. That is
Yeah,
doubly true for the Mercer game, where Tech not only lost to a mid major but looked like a mid major. Um, they had a lot of trouble guarding the three, even though that was basically Mercer's bread and butter all night. A lot of the offensive sets in both games were pretty frustrating and were frequently empty. I, I think we came into the season talking about the recruiting class and talking about the finish at fifth in the ACC last season, and I was quick to note the caveats that came along with that finish in the ACC. Um, I think we sort of need to talk about resetting our expectations here, right? Especially as Tech prepares to play Kentucky, I think this week or the beginning of next week. It is obviously we should note that Kentucky has had some trouble with Richmond earlier today, and we've been seeing weird results across the country just in general in terms of who's been able to get more practice time and who's had more rigorous practices. But that being said, I think we do need to talk about resetting our expectations for what we're seeing this season. Um, it's been touched on a lot that this is Passner's make or break year. And I would say, and I would go on the record as saying, he needs to make the tournament for this to be a successful year with all the implications that come with successful year. And I don't think it's extraordinarily reactionary to sit here at 0-2 and say they'll grow into it, but I'm not sure that they'll get it done.
Well, I feel like that's what happens every year though. And this year was supposed to be the all right, we already did all that losing and growing. Now that these guys are juniors and seniors,
Because this whole thing has been let's get old and let's stay old, right? And
now
now
we're
that you have
old.
Jose Alvarado, that's a senior, you have Michael DeVoe, that's a junior, you have a lot of transfer talent that you've brought in. You have, I think Moses Wright is also a junior. All of your
Nope, he's
guys
a
are
senior.
upperclassmen.
Yeah.
It's like making my point for me here. All of these guys are upperclassmen. This is Passer's team back to front,
Yep.
and I, I will put the cap on this as politely as I can. I hope that they grow into this season and play better as it stretches on. I think the caveat that I have to offer here again is that a lot of these practices that they've been doing have been non-contact because of COVID restrictions and just being generally more cautious about COVID. I think that approach should be applauded, especially considering what we're seeing across college football and the NFL recently. But on the flip side, if you're looking at this from a pure sporting view, and I know this is a bad place to be when we're dealing with a pandemic, it kind of sucks.
It blows.
It's just a bad situation to be in.
But like the thing is, there were times when they looked like it was all right, it's time for Jordan Usher or Mike DeVoe or whoever to just take the ball and make something happen. And like I I, I don't know. I came up in this program as a fan dreading almost every time Todrick Jackson would touch the ball, right? It'd be like, oh no,
Oh.
he's either gonna do something incredible or incredibly stupid. Or just selfish, I guess. I don't know. Not to hate on the guy. I really liked watching him
No, no,
play.
no, no. The
But
point, the
but
point, the
like,
point you're trying to make is he was always trying to make a play. Whether he made the play or not is secondary, but he was always trying to make one.
well, but no, but like I don't know. Like this seems like it's. I feel like I've seen like the selfish end of that the past two games, right? Like it's like, all right, it's just my time. I'm calling my own number instead of the like, oh, I guess I better do something. Like it's less of a deer in headlights and more like a I'm the charging bull kind of thing. But
Okay.
maybe I'm writing too much into it, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the offense is seeing a lot of chemistry, and that's a shame because I think we've seen a lot of great stuff with Mike and Jose in particular in the past 2 years. But this is why they play the games, right? It's not a gimme for Tech to beat State, for Richmond to lose to Kentucky. Like that, these are why we play games. For Georgia Tech to beat the Citadel, like this is
Oh, no, 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 no. You had to put that stinger in there, didn't you?
yeah, I did because that's how I feel.
At
Um,
hell's heart, you strike at thee.
welcome to the club.
Womp
But no,
womp.
like this team isn't any less talented than it was on Monday.
Yeah. It's just
So
I
we
think
have time. We have talent.
it's the frustrating thing, right? It's kind of like been watching the Falcons this season. This is going to be an adventure. Just bear with me. You see that they can do things. You know that they have the talent to do things, but they make the exact same mistakes every single time, and it leads to the same result.
Yup,
God,
that it does.
that's all I got. We'll see how the season unfolds. Like I said, the best way that I can put it is that I hope they figure it out.
Yeah, for your sake and mine.
Yeah, I could. I'm sure that a lot of people's livers would be very happy if they figured it out.
Yeah, that hits
All
too
right.
close to home. Let's move on.
All right, let's take a look-see at the ACC football schedule from last week and rattle off a couple scores. We are just over 10 minutes left in our timer here, so we'll probably have to play through the whistle. This usually is rivalry week, but things are weird nowadays. So let's start at in the Black Friday slot on Friday, November 27th in at 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Number 2 Notre Dame 31, number 19 North Carolina 17.
Yeah, I don't think the fighting Mac Browns got the message that the game is 60 minutes, not 30.
Yeah, I think UNC definitely gave Notre Dame something to think about early, but Notre Dame just and Ian Book just went full on backyard football and sort of screwed around, made plays, and won this game. Fun to
Yep.
watch.
I mean,
I was watching big game, so I only caught, snippets of this one, but it was fun to watch.
are we seriously going to have a fight about Cal Stanford in the middle of our
No, 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 no.
ACC
That's
roundup?
that's for
Okay.
later. That's for
Yeah.
later.
All right.
Moving on to Saturday's slate, the nooner on ACC Network, North Carolina State 36, Syracuse 29. I will note that Syracuse ended the game with a spike on 4th and 1.
That was one of the least football aware plays I've ever seen. And if I was a Syracuse fan, I would be righteously upset.
Yeah, but then again, the nation watched Tom Brady do that like a month ago in an NFL game. So it's like kind of excusable.
That's true. That's true.
You can't see this, but I'm shrugging my shoulders. Podcasting is a visual medium, as I always say.
Name a more iconic duo than Akshay and shrugging his shoulders.
I I had something for this. We'll revisit this. The 3:30 slot on ABC, Pittsburgh 17, number 3 Clemson 52.
I thought it was going to be worse.
I'm surprised that wasn't worse. It was like 35 to zip in the first quarter.
Yep. Well, Dabo might also have had mercy on them, which I don't think you could say the same thing about the Georgia Tech and the Clemson. So,
Nope. Moving on, the 4 p.m. slot on ACC Network, Louisville 27, Boston College 34.
yeah, I didn't watch any of this game, so I have no opinions.
This was a game that happened for. I also did not watch this game, but from what I am told, and what I've seen so far this season, Jeff Hafley has done a really nice job at Boston College, and they're back on their feet for the first time since Jeff. I can never get his name right. Jeff Jagodzinski was the
Yeah,
head coach
Polish.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then they fired him because he took an NFL interview.
Yep.
That was
I was gonna
bad.
say,
That
like, that was a really dumb reason to fire somebody who was pretty good, but like, I guess it's about the hashtag honor, but I don't know.
I've seen dumber, I guess.
Fair.
Have I? I'll think on that one and get back to you. In the 8 p.m. slot would have been UVA versus FSU, but that one was canceled, or I think postponed day of because of COVID issues at Florida State. So that makes 2 weeks in a row that Florida State has had games postponed day of due to COVID issues on either team. So that about rounds it out for the ACC. Do you want to go ahead and quickly talk about our game versus Duke?
Yes, for sure. And it was quite a game. What an what an
It was a
offensive
football game.
onslaught. We we played a football game with good takeaways. That's pretty cool.
Okay, you go first so you can get all the good cop out.
Um, Gibbs, otherworldly. He's really good.
Indeed. Agreed.
Sims, got some movement in there, even when he was under pressure. We only saw one really bad like yike, and I think that was the interception.
From
Everything
him
else was
specifically, to
from him.
clarify,
From
from
him.
Sims
Oh,
specifically.
there was some other big yikes.
We'll
And
get there. We'll get
also
there.
way to take adversity, i.e., giving up that safety. Um, and one forcing what was definitely a safety, but not having that called in your favor, and then on the very next play saying screw it and forcing a fumble for a touchdown. Um, Also, that leads me to my next point: making all 8 extra points, 8 for 8. I don't know what's in Gavin Stewart's water, but
Keep putting it in
whatever.
there.
Yeah,
Keep
it
putting it
was
in there and
weird.
maybe take him off the NCAA drug test list.
It was weird to see the refs stick their hands straight up after a kick instead of doing the side to side, uh, waving motion. I stole that from Andrew Chow. If you're listening, thank you. Credit to you. But yeah, no kicking. We had touchback. Um, I don't know. That's what I got. Tear me to shreds.
All right, good cop. Here's the bad cop. Offensive line could use some work. Duke was able to get a lot of pressure with only a couple guys up front. They really only got screwed because Sims is mobile. And even then, Sims had trouble knowing when to scramble, especially early on in the game. But he was able to do that a lot better and time those a lot better as the game progressed. Um, this is mean of me to put in the cons category, but Gibbs did suffer an injury at the end of the first half. He was on crutches in the second half, despite a massive day for him. So we hope he's healthy and able to play out the rest of the season, whatever that looks like. On the defensive side of the ball, you could see, and I am not a scheme expert here, but even I could see that Chase Bryce had a lot of one-on-one coverages on deep balls that he was trying to exploit, and he did this every single series on like a couple pass plays, and he almost hit them 3 or 4 or 5 times, and he kept finding them. So clearly something there was not working. We also saw some zone coverage breakdown on one Duke touchdown. I think that was the only one of the second half, where a corner on Georgia Tech followed his receiver instead of staying in his zone, forcing the linebacker to sort of be in no man's land as the pass came in. That was a little not fun to watch. Um, Tech got good pressure on the edges, and they were really good about tackling outside of the offensive tackles. But the defensive tackles and sort of everything up the spine, they had some trouble there, and that's what I'm looking for next week to get better. The yikes that you touched on, um, there was a punt that was mishandled that gave Duke its first touchdown, where the returner sort of jogged back to pick it up instead of or to catch it out of the air instead of letting it hit the end zone and then bobbled it and it fell into the end zone. So that's an easy touchdown right there. And then there was the safety on the other end in just a mess of a 2-minute drill in the second half for both teams, and the broadcast, honestly, where a Georgia Tech kick returner stepped out of bounds just slightly while catching a kick that was going out of bounds. And the ball was spotted at the 4, and Tech gave up a safety there. So Tech did give up 9 points just for free, effectively, there, but I guess they got 7 of those back because of Duke on the other end with that strip sack in the end zone that you mentioned. All in all, bad cop is content, not pleased, not disappointed, but content. How about that?
We won a game. We can still finish the season with a winning record. How's that?
You're doing the good cop positivity thing again. God, this is why you get too much into a role when I give one to you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a method actor. A
Okay.
method actor. This is what they teach me in the George Woodruff School of Mechanical Engineering.
Mechanical method acting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should see my Matthew McConaughey impression.
I really don't want to.
Neither do I, honestly.
I really don't want to. We're about to hit the whistle here, but we will play through. I think, in general, my take is, and I think I put this on Twitter too, very rough first half, just all around. Like the lights broke, both teams had it rough. The refs were having a rough day. It was just
That was
bad.
sad. Honestly, the lights breaking was a bummer. Also, turn that off. We're not done.
I said
Um,
play through the whistle.
fair, fair. What's our stoppage time at? No stoppage time.
No, no, we're
Um,
not. Not
um,
going that far with this bit.
our our lights are definitely a gimmick, but I also think they're really cool. And as much it is as it's not something I want to admit that I really like, I was very much disappointed that fizzled. I think that's part of the appeal of playing under the lights. But but no, they I don't know what it is about this team and night games, true night games at Bobby Dodd. But just thinking back on the last couple we've had, Louisville, Duke, NC State last year, um, Miami 2018, Wake Forest 2017. Like, I don't know what
There
it
was
is,
also
man.
Virginia in 2018.
That was a night game. I thought it was a 4 o'clocker.
Was that a? It was a weird kick, but I remember the OT was definitely at night.
Yes, that is true. Might have
I
been a
think it
five
counts.
o'clock kick.
We'll count it.
I think that was the week that ACC Network did 11, 2, 5, and 8 or something like that.
Yuck.
Because Pitt played an 11 a.m. Eastern time game one year.
That was. Ugh.
One year, yeah.
Just watch us be put in that slot versus NC State next week. We'll get there. I don't even want to imagine it.
Yeah, no, at least it wouldn't be a home game in an 11 o'clock slot. That would be awful.
Yuck.
Absolutely awful.
Barf.
But until we know that that's happening, we don't even have to pretend that it is. So there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, rough first half, things cleaned up in the second half. I I feel very weird about this game. Like part of me says that I was not like super confident in Tech winning this game until they went up with the last touchdown, I think. Going
I
up
think that's
to
Go
it
ahead.
just felt
Sorry.
like one of those games. It felt like one of those games where and believe me, I've watched a lot of Atlanta Falcons football over the last X number of years. It felt like one of those. And But I think pushing over 50 um, just helped seal it. And I mean, it's a good offensive performance at the end of the day. So I'll find my things to complain, but they're, my typical things to complain about.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Positivity that I want to get in. Tariq Carpenter, looking good. Good job, Tariq.
Oh, right. I did want to bring him up. He had a really, really good game. He had a pick. I think he also had a forced fumble somewhere in there, and he was also was a vicious tackler on the edge. He sniffed out a lot of screen plays, a couple of swing passes. It was really, really awesome to see him have a good day.
Yeah, he looked like he was playing with both vigor and awareness, and I think that is something, a combination that we tend to only get one of the two of in general. Like somebody playing with a lot of heart, but not a lot of like uh precision. And he had a very well adjusted game yesterday, I would say.
Mhm. All right, let's quickly move on to talking about the NC State game next week. So that'll be December 5th. We still don't know what the TV time is. Like, I've been refreshing the ESPN website for probably the last 10 minutes, trying to see if the time has been updated, but no dice. Um, just to recap where NC State has been, they are 7-3, 6-3 in conference. Let's talk about their last two games really quick, because I think that sort of sets the tone of where they've been recently.
Yeah,
15-14 win versus Liberty. 36, the aforementioned 36-29 win over Cuse. That was only a win over Cuse because of the spike on 4th and 1 from the Orange.
yeah,
This team is weird. And I don't know how I feel about them in general, honestly. I think they are I don't think they're as good as their record indicates, especially if you take those last two games as gospel here.
yeah. They're not a team trending in the right direction, and I think we've seen that now. It was just refreshing to see that we could score 56 points. Like, if we put up 56 points again, I think we win this game. Is that something we're likely to do? Not so much.
Yeah, just to give our listeners a more nuance here, NC State is 52nd overall in SP plus, with the 47th ranked offense, 56th ranked defense, and 22nd ranked special teams. Contrast, Georgia Tech is 67th overall in SP plus, 66th overall offense, 64th overall defense, and 120th overall special teams. So, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, if you're just looking at the ranks there, and I didn't look at the raw numbers that Bill usually provides. If you're just looking at the ranks there, you can see that they are they're well rounded, I would say. Obviously, you see that defensive rank is a bit lower than the offensive rank, but when you're talking about a difference of 9 ranks, I feel like you don't have a lot of change in that space, between the quality there. Um, I think I think this is an evenly matched game. Our friends in the desert, as they like to say, sort of disagree. I should probably
Yeah.
plug the line here, because I'm a good podcaster. Vegas has NC State by 7, with the over under at 63.5.
Um, yeah. Over under and the line. I don't know if I'm convinced of either of those, particularly being maybe not doable is the right word, but I'm thinking more of like a 28-24 kind of game, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
Like, I think
I
it'll be
think
tight.
it's within 7 points is see, it's a weird thing, right? Because if you look at the S&P Plus prediction, it's NC State minus minus 5.7, or NC State by 5.7, my bad. And then FPI says NC State win probability is around 70%. I know I said earlier, not in the podcast, but earlier in the writers' room, I feel safer taking Tech plus 10. But thinking it over and looking at the stats that we have in front of us, I'm leaning more towards like a tech close. Like you said, 4 points feels safe. I mean, SP Plus has it at 6 points. Maybe I'd go for 5 points. Something like that. I think NC State's rankings and their all of their metrics are buoyed a lot by having Devin O'Leary play quarterback for much of the season. But as far as I know, he's injured and he's out for the season. And Bailey Hockman has been decent, but he hasn't been all that amazing in relief. Um, and also, if you're giving up a lot of points and a shot at a win to Syracuse, um, and I say this knowing full well that Tech lost to Syracuse. Um, I it's tough for me to buy into that, right?
Yeah, I think you're right to be tough to buy into that too. So yeah. Um,
Yeah,
finish your thought. Finish your thought. I want to let you get
yeah.
there.
It's just, and I know we've slowed the pace of the podcast down, but I just want to get my numbers in while I can,
Well, please
because I have a
continue to
lot.
do so because I'm doing something in the background that is going to be my final point on NC State. So get all your
Okay,
points
let
out.
me vamp about some numbers here. So, NC State's offense, in a lot of the metrics that we look at when we talk about offenses, on an advanced level, is pretty consistently mediocre. We're talking about an EPA per play of 0.009, effectively zero. That's ranked uh, 61st in the nation out of 127 teams. We're talking about a success rate of 38.3%. That's ranked 77th in the nation. EPA per rush, 0.001, 60th in the nation. EPA per pass, 0.019. That's 67th in the nation. They are very, if you look at these expected points metrics, and just to clarify, when we talk about these on a per play basis, let's say NC State is averaging something like 60 plays a game. Um, it's 60 times the EPA per play, 0.009. You do the math out there, and that's effectively how many points that they're gaining based on their effectiveness and their efficiency during the game. Um, or they're expected to have gained based on their effectiveness and efficiency during the game. And by and large, NC State has been a very middle of the road offense. Now, that being
Yeah.
said, so has Georgia Tech. I don't have Georgia Tech's numbers in front of me, but so is Georgia Tech. So I'm not, this is why I'm saying this is sort of, and I'm going to bring back the crabs in a bucket metaphor from earlier. This is why I think that this game is going to be close. You have two, on paper, very evenly matched teams. I think the only place where I would see like something that we should look out for is if you look at NC State's defense, they're ranked 38th in the nation in EPA allowed per rush. I'm not going to read out the number because at this point the number is meaningless without context and sort of aggregation. But that is the only rank in their like efficiency metrics here that is not in the like the 50 to 60 range, that quote unquote zone of mediocrity. Right. So that's I think the key. If Tech can still run the ball effectively, like they did versus Duke, but do it again versus NC State, I think they have a good shot at success in Raleigh.
Yeah. I I would tend to agree. And I think the in Raleigh part is something that I would like to touch on here.
Oh boy.
In the background, I don't know if you've heard my clicking and whatnot, but I've been doing some digging. So I have this very selective history, um, not information. Throw out cross country, throw out track. If you just look at what I want you to look at, I can spin our um, complete and utter domination of NC State into a reason why we could never lose this game. I'm gonna
Oh
start with
boy.
women's tennis. Akshay, I want you to guess how many times we played NC State women's tennis since 1997.
16 times. 16,
20,
17,
21, 22,
16.
23, 24, 25. 25 times since
Okay.
1997. How many times have we won?
All of them?
No, we've lost twice since
Okay.
1997 to
Okay.
NC State.
Close enough.
Yeah, it is very close. Now let's talk, say, men's basketball. What's our record against them since 1990? No,
You're
let's do
digging
football.
here.
Let's do football first. 1995. So our last 15 games against them.
In football, we've
Yeah.
lost at least once.
We've lost once. We've lost twice. We've lost 3 times. We are 12-3 in our last 15 football games against NC State.
One of those was a Russell Wilson game in 2011, if I remember correctly.
Yes, you are correct there. We've played them in basketball 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times since the 2015, since your freshman year of college. We played them 7 times. How many times have
Wow,
we
that's
won?
actually more than I expected. I know we swept NC State one year. We swept NC State a couple times while I was at Tech, but I want to say we had dropped at least 2.
You're wrong, actually. We have only dropped 1 of the last 7
Whoa.
against NC State. And I also found this. This is a little more unrelated. You know, NC State since 1950 is our 3rd most played opponent in basketball after Clemson and Georgia. I didn't.
That's
Small world.
weird. I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have no idea how that works.
I couldn't tell you about that one. Also in baseball, I believe we have won. Actually, no, that's not good. Let's not look at baseball. Never mind.
You're picking and choosing here. Get to the point.
Um,
Get to the climax here.
the point is, if you want to select your windows,
Very
Georgia Tech,
carefully, you might add.
very carefully. Don't look at swimming. In fact, turn far away from that and cross country. But if you look at basically every other sport, volleyball, I believe we have won 6 of the last 7 against them. Point is, in football, baseball, men's basketball, women's basketball, I believe were 3 of the last 4, so that's decent. Point
You're
is,
really cherry picking your stats here today,
we
bud.
are. But Georgia Tech has seen success against NC State that we haven't seen against any other school in sports that I think our fans pay a lot of attention to. I wouldn't go out of my way to say that cross country and track and swimming are ones that they do, and I don't know. It feels good to be on the uh, we have unreasonably frustrated another fan base. So
Kevin
I don't
Keats
know.
is not a winner. That's all I got to
Kevin
say.
Kevin Keats, didn't he just score 24 points in a basketball game last year, or was that 2 years ago already?
Kevin Keats is the coach of NC State basketball.
Yeah, I know. Didn't his team only score like 24 points in a basketball game like last year, or was that 2
I
years
don't
ago?
know. I don't know. I'm not up to date on my college basketball memes.
How dare you? This is supposed to be a meme-based podcast. Actually, is it? I don't think so. But
I don't know. You were the one that tried to do the relentless positivity meme today, so I'm gonna leave the comedy to you.
oh gosh, why would you do that? That's
Yeah,
not
I know.
healthy.
I'm already regretting this decision. Anyway, I think we've
That's how we get
exhausted.
the reps mad at our horrible heckling or something. Ugh.
I don't know. I
Anyways,
think the refs got a lot of love on Saturday night. I think they really appreciated it.
yeah, my mom told me to stop booing because she could hear me in the camera that was closest to the rec club. So, oops.
That is very, very funny. Okay,
Yeah.
I think we have exhausted our time for this evening. Any other cherry pick stats that you want to share before we sign off here?
Oh, yeah, we're 3 of 4 against the Wolfpack in men's tennis since I've gotten to college. There, that's what I got.
Oh my God. I got
The,
nothing. We
the
will
math can't lie. The math can't lie. If I make it tell the story I want it to, mm, nobody can stop me.
congrats. You're now a big J journalist.
That's what they tell me, right?
That's what you get, you know.
Oh well.
Woodruff School of Mechanical Journalism.
That's just a computer that's going to write my stories for me someday.
Give it time. Give it time. All right, sports fans, we will see you next week, hopefully, once we get a kickoff time. Stay safe and enjoy your Georgia Tech sports.
Go Jackets.